Rubber baby buggy burger bumpers. Rubber baby buggy burger bumpers. Rubber baby buggy burger bumpers. Okay, so let's say you've got your acoustics under control, you've got a decent microphone, and you record through a capable USB interface, but your vocals still don't sound all that great. Well, I've got 3 things that might just help you. When you get that perfect take, your first instinct is to continue on with the song and just roll with it. Stop. Re-record it like 2 or 3, 4, maybe 5 times. If that sounds like a lot, it kind of is. It's kind of repetitive, it's kind of boring, but if there's a small problem you didn't hear while you were recording or while you were listening back to it, it'll come up in post. And post doesn't fix everything. So just make sure you have multiple options, multiple avenues to go down when it comes to that take. Because if you have 5 takes, you can comp all 5 of those takes to make one perfect take. If it's like some mouse noise or just like a little bit of static in the background or some background noise, it's whatever. When you have more takes, you have more possibilities to fix small things. Now, this one sounds like a little nitpicky, but trust me, it helps a lot. When the microphone is pointed towards your nose, you're gonna get more of a breathy, airy, and sibilant take, because that's usually what your nose is putting out. And if it's pointed too far down towards your chest, it's gonna be really boomy and muffled because you're lacking that high-end detail that came, from your nose. So it would stand to reason that pointing the microphone at your mouth would make a lot of sense. Yes and no. So the problem with pointing it directly at your mouth with no tilt or angle or anything like that is that you have a greater risk of popping the capsule with plosives like P's and D's and B's. That could just absolutely ruin a take, because when you have that boomy, boxy sound, you have to high pass the vocal with an EQ to get rid of it, and then you just kind of lack that low end of the vocal and makes it sound super thin. And that can happen even with a pop filter, and a good pop filter at that. The solution is to raise the microphone a little bit above your mouth, kind of at an eye-nose level, and then tilt it down 30 to 40 degrees towards your chest. Now what this does is this puts the microphone out of the path of your mouth when you hit those plosives, so it doesn't hit the capsule directly, it just goes past it. But because it's kind of at nose-eye level, you're getting some of that high detail from your nose, that nasally, high detail, articulate sound that you need to be able to hear the take. But because it's pointed at your chest, it doesn't lack on that low end. You get a nice, thick, punchy low end, and it just sounds so much better. But none of this really matters if your posture sucks. If you slouch, you're kind of closing in on your lungs. You're not letting your lungs expand when you stand up straight. So pop your chest out, throw those shoulders back, stand up straight, and look directly at the microphone. Slightly up though, because it's gonna be above your mouth, and this will expand your throat and your lungs, which will give you an enhanced vocal range and better breath work. This one helped me so much because oftentimes I would have a vocalist come in and record this super dynamic take where they start off really, really quiet, and then by the end, they're screaming! And it's really hard to control those dynamics in post because you're gonna have to do tons of post-processing. You're gonna have to cut up the take a lot just to get everything sounding even. Something that's really good to do on the way in is put something on your FX chain. Now, virtually every single DAW has an input effects section somewhere. The one I use on Reaper is right here. When you hit the record arm track, it's right there. You click that and you put whatever effects you want on there. See what I use a gate, an EQ, and a compressor. Now, what the gate does pretty much is it just eliminates that background noise when the vocalist isn't performing, which just creates a cleaner take. The EQ, which is the FabFilter Pro Q3, and you can use any EQ for this. This is like overkill for what it's doing, but all it's doing is high passing the vocal at 50 hertz. So anything below that just cuts it out. And there's a little dip at 500 hertz, which just gets rid of a little bit of the room resonance, right? The mileage may vary with that dip. Don't always do 500 hertz. Do some experimentation, do some takes. And when you boost certain frequencies between like 440 and like 530 hertz, you'll hear this kind of buildup of a weird sound, and it just doesn't sound good. So just do a little dip wherever you find your room resonance is. And then after the EQ is just an opto compressor. This is the one that comes with Reaper. I use it to just take down those transients, those really high parts where they're screaming or like a phrase cuts through the vocal take. and it'll just bring it down to a level that makes everything even. And you want to make sure that your compressor has an auto makeup gain section, because what this is going to do is whenever it brings down those high parts, it'll boost it back up so everything's even. Because if you don't have auto makeup gain on, your take's just going to come out super quiet. And then you'll just have to boost it later, which could introduce a little bit of distortion, which maybe it's something you want. I don't know, it's not what I want, but yeah, that's my chain. Now this is optional. You can put a saturator at the very end of this chain, and what that's gonna do is gonna give that vintage warm sound to your take, like analog hardware does, basically. So the one I recommend is Saturation Knob by Softube. And this one doesn't cost a dime. It's free. It's free. We love free plugins, right? It does take a little bit to set up because you have to download an iLok management software. And this is just so Softube knows where their product is registered. But yeah, it's not a big deal. I'll link a video in the description to help you guys set that up, because it's kind of a pain in the ass, but you know, you have to do it, so. Vocal warm-ups. It sounds so stupid, but it works. You know, it's simple and it gets the job done. So when I say vocal warm-ups, I mean in practice, and I mean it literally. To warm up your vocals, you can drink a hot beverage like coffee or tea or something like that. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna loosen up your throat and your vocal cords a little bit and just kind of take down some of those harsh and scratchy sounds that often come from your throat. Now, this is not scientifically proven or anything. I haven't done extensive tests or read research papers on it. But in my experience, it's helped my voice a lot. It has helped a few of the artists that I've recorded. It doesn't help everybody, but it helps especially people that have nasally or scratchy voices, you know, already. If you already have a nice, really thick, rich sounding vocal, it might not help as much, but you can still give it a try. The vocal warm-ups that I mean in practice, you'll often see people do it in film and in theater. It's doing those speech therapy things almost, where like they're just spitting a bunch of gibberish out, like rubber baby buggy burger bumpers. Wow, got that one first time. So when you say stuff like that, it makes that mental connection between your mind and your mouth. It just helps you articulate your words a little bit better. Because oftentimes, you know, you'll recite your lyrics for hours or however long before you record, but then whenever you go up to the microphone, something just changes. I don't know why. It could be the pressure that you put on yourself when you record, or you didn't get a good night's sleep the night before. But whatever the reason, when you articulate your mouth like that and make that connection between your mind and your mouth, it just helps. When you're reading your lyrics, you don't skip a line, or you don't trip over your words as much. Say it 5, 10, 15 times before you record, and I guarantee that it will help you at least read your lyrics better. Because the more successful takes you have, the more confident you'll be to get even better takes. Anyways, I hope some of these helped, and if there's something that you do to get better vocal takes, drop it down in the comments. Let the rest of us know, because holding information captive should be illegal. It is illegal in some countries. But anyway, that's it for me, so bye.